Who's that? Who's peeking his head in there? Josh peeked his head in there. He's like, it's right next to shared screen. Okay. All right. I think it's recording to the cloud. So it'll be somewhere up there. Okay. So honestly, right now, if you got off this call and you signed yourself up, is it good? Is it good? Yeah. Or no? Yeah, Dan, good thing we got you back. There we go. You can adjust that thing however you want it to adjust to. Those legs are multifunctional. So if you want to increase your sales immediately, I guarantee you, this is the cure-all. This is the cure-all right now. Is make sure that you have what you're selling. Like if you're like, man, I've been selling these Fords and I can't get any sales. It's because you're driving a Hyundai. You know, my first piece of advice would be, go get yourself a Ford. Right. Die.
No, it's still on. It's just can't see you. How do you? It's because it says low power. How do you get on this? You can click the button.
Okay. Hey, how about this? What if I switch phones? Because that one says low power.
There you go.
Tommy, if you made me host, I could record it and send it to you.
There you go. You're good.
Oh wait.
You just gotta plug it in. You're good.
Am I still in? Oh no, I got it. Plug it in. No. Sorry, I don't know what to do. There's dog barking. How do I get off? I'm gonna get out of this call. Disconnect. Sorry, guys. This is what you're dealing with, my technical difficulties here.
That's a better camera anyway.
What's up, bud?
You look much clearer on this camera anyway.
Okay, I'll take that. Let's do a flip around. I'll even wipe it off a little bit. All right, Dan, the cameraman. If you can give us some loving on this thing, bro. How's that looking? Not too good, huh? There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Is that good?
It's perfect.
Okay, all right. So we all know the deal. If you're gonna sell some Fords, you gotta own a Ford, right? So the first thing I would do, especially if you're young, the easiest way to sell people is to have it on your own. I remember when I was 21 years old and I was sitting down with a 44-year-old man. This man had a wife and 3 kids, and he was a plumber. And you could tell he loved his family. I mean, he had a great little blue-collar, nest there over in Tarentum, PA, and real blue-collar area. And he literally had no life insurance. No life insurance. And when I say no life insurance, he might have had, I can't remember if it was 10 or 20 or 40,000. It was something like that of group term coverage. Remember, group term coverage doesn't count. It's called group term coverage. That's the reason why we're calling on these people, is their president has group term coverage, and that's why they team up with us, is because we provide them with guaranteed coverage. So when I say he had no life insurance, he might have had a little bit of group term coverage. Reminder, group term coverage, what's the percentage of payout on group term? 3%? No, I wish it was. 1%. 1% of group term policies pay out. Now, let's say you went out on an open market and you called up Wright, and you bought a 10-year term policy, renewable and convertible from Wright, right? What's the payout on, well, I don't want to say renewable and convertible, but let's say you bought a 20-year level term policy. What's the payout on a 20-year level term that you individually own? That's 3%. You know, so if you own your own term policy, 3% payout, average, group term 1%, whole life 100%. So that's on the side. But this gentleman, that's all he had was this group term coverage, right? And here's the thing. It was so easy for me to sell this person because I was looking at him and I'm thinking, I'm 22 years old, 23, 24, wherever I was. And I'm like, I pay $168 a month and I have $250,000 of coverage. And I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. I don't even have anybody to really worry about but my parents. And I got $250, I'm paying $168. This man has nothing, he's paying nothing. That was it. I mean, I could just, there's nothing else. Like, it was done. He was sold. You know what I mean? Like, if you have that, you're going to be able to sell people, period. So, plus you need it anyways. So why do you need to get life insurance when you're young? Because it's cheap? Well, let me ask you, when you get older, are you going to really need it? When you get older, you're going to have a family. Are you going to have people that depend on you? You're going to have kids. You plan on having kids, big family, mortgage. You plan on having all that stuff. Guess what you're going to need at that point? Life insurance, right? Well, let me ask you, if you wanted to start saving money and you wanted to save $500 a month, would you just start saving $500 a month right now? That might be tough. If you never saved a nickel before in your life and you go from $0 a month to $500 a month, you might do that for 1 month and quit, right? That's too much. My dad told me when I was young, he said, you need to save money, but don't try and save $500 a month right now. Just save $50 a month. And after a while, you'll get used to it and you won't even know it's happening. A year will go by and you will not even know the difference. And then at that point, you can increase it to $100 a month and then $200 a month, right? And when I was looking at life insurance, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, well, when I get older, I'm going to have to get life insurance when I have a family. And at that point, when you have a family, do you think you're going to have more bills when you're single or more bills when you have a wife and a kids and a family? I'm like, I can barely handle the bills I got now as a single person. I can't imagine trying to handle all those bills as well. So I said, instead of trying to add this very important financial investment on top of all my family bills later on down the line, I'm going to get the investment now and get used to it. And then when I'm older, I'll add the bills on top of my investment. So instead of adding the investment on top of all my bills, which would be tough to do at that point, so I'm just going to get it now, and then I'll have my investment, and then the bills are just added on top of that. That's already built in. Does that make sense, right? That was what I told myself. That's why I got it. Plus, I know that this is going to be the cheapest it's ever going to be. So if you're going to get something, and I know I need to get it, why would I pay more for something than I have to? So I ran the numbers. I don't just go off of blind faith. I ran the numbers. And when I ran the financial numbers, life insurance always makes sense logically. And if you can make sense logically to the client, it's plain and simple. It's like, hey, buddy, if you do option A, it's going to cost you $7,000. If you do option B, it's going to make you $7,000. I'm just trying to show you. And now they're like, oh, well, the numbers are right there. It speaks for itself, right? So we did an example last night with Wright. We had a 25-year-old male versus a 35-year-old male. Okay, and let me know if these numbers are wrong, but this is just off the top of my head. Last night we looked at these numbers, and guess how much it cost a 25-year-old male for $100,000 a month, non-tobacco? 50?
Like 60 something.
60 something?
Yeah.
You weren't supposed to guess, you already know. It was $65 a month on the nose. 65 a month. That's $780 a year. Okay, do the math with me, guys. Do the math with me. Okay, so we got option A. Option A. Write this down. Option A. 25-year-old male, 100,000. $65 a month. Option A. 25-year-old male, 100,000 whole life, non-tobacco, $65 a month, $780 a year. That's what it's going to cost. Over the next, from 25 to 65, they're going to put $780 a year for the next 40 years. He's going to put $31,000 into this thing. 31,000. So from 25 to 65, he's going to have life insurance. And if he dies, his family's going to get what? $100,000 for how many years? 40 years. And it's going to cost him $31,000. Now, the cash value in this at 65 is going to be $36,000. $36,000. The paid up option is $83,500. $83,500 paid up. So this gentleman will put $31,000 in from now until 65. If he dies at any point, what's his family get? $100,000. So is that a good situation? You put in 31, they get 100,
Yeah.
right? If you wanted to give your family 100,000, how would you do that?
You have to save up.
You'd have to save up $100,000, right? So the second thing is the cash value that's built inside of that is worth $36,000. So if you put in 31, but you take out 36, how much did that cost you?
Plus 8, plus 5,000.
Nothing, exactly, right?
Plus 5.
You actually made 5. You see how I ask that question? This is how I ask it to the clients all the time. And they look at me like, what did it cost me? And I'm sitting there with a smile like,
It costs me nothing.
exactly. You didn't ask me anything, right? So and then the last thing, guys, is the paid up option is $83,500. So if they never want to pay a nickel again, they could stop paying, and their family gets a guaranteed $83,500 no matter what. So they put in 31, leave $83,500. So that's option A. Option B is we wait. The guy says, you know what? I want to save that $65 a month. I need that $65 a month. 25 years old. I mean, I need all the beer I can get. So the 25-year-old says, I don't want it. And he waits 10 years to get the coverage because he wants to save what? The cost. He don't want to spend, he don't want to bear the cost of getting the life insurance. He saves $65 a month. He saves $780. He saves $7,800. That's what he saves, right? Now he's 35. He has no choice. He has to get the life insurance. So he's 35. He's got a wife, kids, mortgage, family, spouse, whatever's going on over there. But God needs it. So he gets it. It costs him $104 a month now.
For the same.
Same thing. So this is option B. We got a 35-year-old male, a non-tobacco, $100,000. Now it costs him $104 a month. Still a good deal, but compared to the 25, not as good. 35-year-old gets the policy, $104 a month. Okay. Now, what they're going to have is they're going to have this coverage from 35 to 65 in this example, just compared to the other one. 35 to 65 is how many years? 30. So they're going to pay $780 a year for 30 years. I'm sorry, not 780. I'm sorry. That was the old example. They're going to pay 12, is it 1217 or so? 1250. 1248. Yeah, they're going to pay $1248 a year for the next 30 years. If you do the math on that, I believe it's 37,000. You know what? Let's do the real math.
Yeah.
Is it?
No, hit a gas.
Yeah. 12.5 times 30. 37,500 is how much they are going to put into the policy. 37.5 is what they put in. The cash value is 32,000. Cash value at 65, 32,000. And just like we went over in the other one, paid up option, 75,000. I have it right here in the rate book. Now, side note, guys, make sure you have your electronic rate book on your desktop, right on your desktop. It should be one of your main things. You can just click on any, literally, anybody can call you up anytime. But hey, you know, I was thinking about getting something for your grandma, for my grandma, or my aunt, or whatever. You could literally pull up your computer, open that thing up, like, how old are they? They smoke? How much are we looking? All right, boom, here's the rates. You can just rip them to them right there. They're all right here in this rate book. It's on my desk. I don't even sell life insurance, guys. Last time I was in the field, I told Tom I went 18 for 18 with Justin Adams, and you know, I put a little asterisk there because we did sit down with 19 people that week, but one lady she was just a little bit off her rocker, we'll call it, you know, so we were in and out of that house, but technically we were 18 for 19 if you really want to count her. But then the next time I went into the field, I was 10 for 10 with Matty D. We went out together, in not the best neighborhood in town, and went 10 for 10. I told him that week also, we got told no 50 times. 50 times we got told no 50 times. How'd you get told no 50 times, but you went 10 for 10? It's because every time I got a yes, it took me 5 no's just to get to that yes on average. Some of them only took me 2 or 3, but some of them took me 8. I'm talking about the average was 5. See, what happens is I hung in there. I hung in the dogfight. You ever see Top Gun when he gets creeped out in the dogfight? When he gets when the air washes in his thing and he loses control when he gets scared and he turns and goes home. And they say, you need to get back and engage into the fight, right? I never disengage into the fight until it's over. You know who never disengages either? Gio. Gio will sit there and like if they don't buy, they really have to sell him. You know what I'm saying? They're like they have to sell Gio. You know what I'm saying? You don't just get off the phone and like, well, I'm not understanding. You know, you need like explain to me. And they're like having to sit there and they pull out a whiteboard and like, all right, you know what I'm saying? It's either sell or be sold, you know. But that's what happened. I remember I told 50 times that week and still made 10 sales. So just as 2 little side notes, guys, have this always with you. Have it on your computer. You can pull up all the rates right there. You know, it's electronic right there. And then also get ready to get some no's before you get to a yes. You know, and what do you do when you get told no? What do you do when you get told no? Agree and proceed. Agree and proceed. That's the procedures. What are the procedures? Agree and proceed. Right? The guy's like, he's like, I just don't know if I can, you know, afford this right now. I was thinking maybe this is great and everything, but I'm gonna call you back over the holidays. Okay, great. Makes sense. I can agree with you on that, Joe. I will literally say I can agree with you on that, Joe. Makes sense. You know, over the holidays, probably feel a little bit more comfortable after the holidays. Let me ask you, when did you say your birthday is? Your birthday is what? December 10th, right? And today's what? November 10th? So we wait till after the holidays. You're going to be another year older, right? Let's take into consideration what it would cost you. And he wants to wait. The guy wants to wait. Guess what I found out? It costs an extra $4 and some cents a month, right? If he waits to get the same product. 2 months. He's going to wait 2 months to save himself $120 a month. It costs him $120 a month, $120 a month. He's going to save $240. But if he waits 2 months, when he buys it now, it's going to cost him $4 and some cents a month. You know what I called that though? 5. So I'll just say it's going to cost you extra $5, Joe, every single month. Might not seem like that much. $5 a month times 12 months is only $60 a year. But if you think about this program, you're going to have this for how long? You know, let's say you have it for the next 30 years. Right? You're 50, you live to be 80. 55, you live to be 86. $60 times 10, that's 600. 600 times 30 times 3. You're looking at what? How much money is that, guy? $1,800. So listen, Joe, I understand how sometimes you feel like you're going to save a little bit of money by waiting a couple of months, but really at the end of the day, it's going to cost you about $1,800 of that decision. So hey, if you were my dad and somebody, you know, and I knew that I could save you $1,800, I sure would want, you know, I sure would want to tell, you know, somebody. So I want to know, right? And I flipped it on him right then and there. That's why you got to know your numbers. You got to have your rate book. You know what I'm saying? We got to be spin doctors. Always flipping things around. You know, people don't want to do it. You tell, hey, that's great. Agree with them, but proceed to close them down again. And then when they rebuttal you again, agree and proceed. Agree and proceed. Usually, whatever they tell you is the reason why they can't get it is usually not the real reason. It's like an onion. You got to peel back the onion. So basically, if you stick in there, you're going to basically, if you can get down to it, you can probably even say to them in one way or another, like this. You can pretty much say, so really, Joe, what's the real reason right now, you know, why you don't want to enroll into the program today? If you can just be honest with me, just let me know, you know, what's the real reason why, so we can help get that fixed. Like, because guess what? Why am I saying, what's the real reason? Because he just told me a bunch of other reasons that weren't the real reason. You know what I'm saying? That's what happens. Whenever they tell you the first two reasons that they don't want to buy are usually not even real. It's not real, I promise you. It's the first crazy thing that comes to their brain. It's a smoke screen. Here's the thing I always tell myself. I was like, they are not professional salespeople. These people are not professional salespeople. They're not selling me today. I'm the professional salesperson. In fact, I'm not supposed to buy shit. I'm a seller. I'm not a buyer, right? So when I go out there, I got to remind myself, I'm not buying these people's excuses. I'm not buying what they're telling me. Like, I know what they're telling me. I'm going to listen, and I'm going to agree with them. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to hear them, but I'm not going to. You really don't want to listen. You want to let it go one end or the other. Because whatever they tell you, if you sit there and listen to it, you might actually believe it. Yeah, you might believe it. If you let that, like, he's like, yeah, you know, I got to get my car fixed. And you're thinking, like, man, I remember when I get my car fixed. I could really relate to this guy. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You know what you should do? You should probably wait. And now you're telling him, like, what the heck's going on, bro? I'm not supposed to, you're not buying that crap. Remember, we're selling stuff today. We're not buying stuff. So I would always have to tell myself that, you know, and then whatever they would tell me, though, is I would still agree with them. I'd listen to them. I'd always say, yeah, sure, I understand. I agree. That makes sense for sure, Joe. Definitely. Well, we could definitely do that for sure. You can definitely do that. You should definitely think about doing that. However, let me tell you, we got to consider this. Here's what a lot of people in your situation have done. I know the benefits are important to you. Your wife said this is important to you. Here's what I suggest that we can do for you today. Here's what a lot of our best clients have done. I know that makes sense, but here's what we'll do today. How about what we'll do? We'll make sure we get your foot in the door, but we keep it comfortable for you at the same time. And we're always closing, you know, but we're agree and proceed part of that process, right? 3 E's. Well, what we got to go back to our example here.
Option B, we're on option C.
There's no option C. so but option A and option B, right? Let's go back to those two for a second, because I don't want to. I want to wrap that up real quick. So, any questions on option A and option B so far? To summarize, option A, 65-year-old, they're going to pay $31,000 over the next 40 years. Option B is a 35-year-old, they're going to pay $37,000 over the next 30 years. What's the problem with that? Well, option B, they're only going to have life insurance for 30 years. Option A, they got life insurance for 40 years. You're getting 40 years of coverage for $31,000. Over here, you're getting 30 years of coverage for $37,000. Right? Second thing is over here, would you rather pay 31 and get 36 cash value, or would you rather pay 37 and get 32 cash value? What would you rather do? Oh, shit ain't, right? Would you rather pay 31 and get 83 or pay 37 and get 75 on a paid up option? Right? So I know sometimes it feels like you might be saving money, but it's really costing you, and really who it's costing you is costing your family. Because that money should be going to your kids and your great grandkids, and it's going to a life insurance company. Right? So there is a cost to doing something. There's a cost to doing nothing. And a lot of times, the cost of doing nothing far outweighs the cost of doing something. Anybody here at Colin Powell? Colin Powell, military, U.S. He said that it's not the right decision or the wrong decision that has costed the United States millions and billions of dollars. It is not the right or wrong decision that has cost Americans and American people millions and billions of dollars. It's not the right or wrong decision that has cost American businesses billions and millions of dollars. You know what it is? It's the indecision that is great, way more costly than any right or wrong decision. Is the indecision. It's costing us way more. So that's what we're talking about today, Joe, is a decision, right? And I know that you guys want to think about it. And the great thing is, Joe, is we work with over 30,000 different unions, associations, and organizations worldwide. Each one of these organizations that we work with has a financial advisor that has to check all these benefits to make sure that these are the best benefits for all their members. And what they do with the benefits is the financial advisors, they check them, they double check, and they actually triple check all these benefits every single year before we're able to come out and offer them to all the members, just to make sure that they're the best benefits out there and there isn't anything better. So I know sometimes you feel like you want to think about it, and I'm the same way, but what's nice to know is they already thought about it for us. You know, they have this basically, you know, we have these benefits have been checked probably, you know, if you have 30,000 different organizations check these benefits 3 times, these benefits were checked over 90,000 times, let's call it 100,000 times before they even came out to put this up in front of you, right? So, so that's just a little example, you know, when people want to think about it or something like that. So, so let's go into some closing stuff. Yep. Let's go into some closing stuff on a presentation, right? So if you know your numbers and everything in the rate book, that's great. Putting up the numbers on the board is nice and all that. So let's use an example of what I went over the other day. Okay, I don't know if you guys got a chance to take notes on that. I can kind of reiterate that a little bit more. Bringing up the freedom of choice certificate. So let's do this. Let's start from when you're in the presentation and you went through all the no cost benefits, right? Like, well, what do I do now? They say, hey guys, so you say so Joe and Mary, it's 2020, and you know what they found is that everybody has life insurance, but what they found is that not everybody knows what they have or even how it works. So what they found is that there's over 200, 300 different types out there. Everybody got these different names and everything, but what they found, Joe and Mary, is it really just boils down to 2 types of life insurance. So what they ask us to do is to make sure we go over that with you. Are you familiar with the difference between whole life and term life insurance coverage? You are? Okay, that's great. That's great. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to review that real quick just to make sure we're on the same page. Now, you say, are you familiar with the difference between whole life and term? He's like, not really. I said, okay, great. We're going to review that real quick just to make sure we're on the same page. Say the same thing, right? What did they tell you, yes or no? So I say, so the first type of coverage, Joe, is called term life. And the way term life works is term life covers you for a specific period of time. So that'll cover you from year 1 all the way till year 10. Let's say you had a 10-year term policy. That means you're covered for the next 10 years. Well, if you pass away at any point in time from year 1 to year 10, the death benefit, the life insurance, let's say in this situation is $100,000. That money would get paid directly out to your family, your beneficiary. But the thing is, let's say that you live 10 years in 1 day, and then you passed away. Then what would happen? Then what would get paid out to your family? Nothing, right? Because you're only covered for that 10-year period. So that's how that works. But at the end of the 10 years, let's say that you want to keep it for another 10 years. Then you can do so. You can keep it for another 10 years, but what's going to happen is you're going to be 10 years older. So what happens to the cost of life insurance when you get older, Joe? It goes up as we get older. So what's happened, the cost might go up a little bit, but you'll be locked in for another 10 years. And then if you want to continue to have the coverage, well, now you're 20 years older. So it's going to go up. Instead of going up that much, now it's probably going to go up maybe a little bit more. And now you're locked in for 30 years. And then basically, Joe, it'll keep going up until you reach age 65 or age 70. And typically around 65 or 70, that's when most term policies terminate. That's why they call them term, because at the end, they terminate. They're only for a certain period of time. So now, you're covered from year 1 all the way up until you're 65, but if you live past 65 or 70 and pass away, what happens, what gets paid out to the family? Typically nothing. On top of that, what happens, somebody said to me, well, I'm paying money for this the whole entire time. What happens to all the money that I'm putting into my program? The money that you're putting into your program is going towards what's called cost of insurance. What you're paying for is to make sure that you have this death benefit in place. So just like if you were to kind of rent or lease something, that's what like term policy is like. The term policy is like renting. It's like leasing something, because at the end, when you're leasing something, what do you do with it? You have to give it back, right? So the only way that the term policy pays out to people's families is if they pass away within the period of that term, right? So what they call the term coverage, guys, is they call term coverage the if coverage. Because if you pass away within that period of time, it'll pay out to our family. That makes sense, Joe? Mary? Okay, perfect. Now the other type of coverage is called whole life. And Joe, the way whole life coverage works is it covers us for our whole life. So it's going to be in place forever. And sometimes I'll ask the client, I'll say, Joe, Mary, do you guys know how whole life works? How long do you think whole life covers us for? And they'll go, for your whole life. I'll say, exactly, for your whole life. So I like posing it as a question because it is the easiest question in the world, because I literally just wrote whole life on the board. And I said, now, Joe and Mary, like term coverage covers us for a certain period of time. Whole life covers us for how long? How long do you think whole life will cover us for? That's right, our whole life. And then I underline it, okay? Now I'm going to say, the way whole life works, guys, is just like term coverage says the if, the first thing I'll say is whole life will cover us when we pass away. So that means it's going to cover us from now until forever. So when we put money into a whole life program, part of the money that we put into it has to go towards our cost of insurance, because we have to make sure we have our death benefit in place. But also, now what's nice is when you put money into a whole life, part of the money gets put into what's called a cash value account. And with our company, the cash value grows at 4%. So it's a guaranteed 4%. And later on down the line, it comes back to the families if they want tax-free. So with the whole life program, you're covered for your whole entire life. When you reach age 65, the cash that's in this program, you're going to be able to pull it out. When you reach age 65, the death benefit stays in place. And just like term coverage is renting and leasing. Whole life coverage is like owning and building equity. You build cash inside of this. And then I just go back and do comparisons where at 65, term life will go away. At 65, this whole life will be in place forever. You can actually get cash back out. So at the end of the day, though, what is right for your family? You know, what do you need? How do you know what type of coverage is right for you? Now I ask Joe Mary, so does this make sense? Do you guys have any questions? Okay, well, what's nice, Joe Mary, is that they developed a needs analysis that's going to take into consideration your current situation, and it'll show you if you have any gaps in your coverage. So what I like about this, guys, is typically if you wanted to have a needs analysis done, you would have to go to a financial advisor, and they would have to put it into their financial advisor software. That typically can cost our members hundreds, sometimes even thousands of dollars just for that consultation. So what's nice about this is this does the same exact thing and does a needs analysis for you and your family, but they already set it up for you and it's at no cost. So the first thing it's going to ask us is your date of birth, which I already have here. So you're 7/28, yours is May 5th, right, Mary? You and my sister are both right in May birthdays. So I'm going to get your birthdays in here. And then the kids as well, they're 6 and 7. All right, perfect. Now, Joe, on your, the first question it asks on here is it says your monthly take-home pay. So what would you say your monthly take-home pay would be, Joe? Monthly take-home pay, like average 4,000? Okay, perfect. And then Mary, your monthly take-home pay? 2,000. Okay, great. Now, through your work, it's asking, do you guys have any life insurance through your employer? Do you have any work insurance? Yes?
Yeah.
1 times your salary?
Yeah.
So it's about 50,000. You have 50,000 in group term coverage. And Mary, you don't have anything because you're part-time? Okay, perfect. Do you have anything outside of work? So the first thing to ask is whole life coverage. I'm going over whole life coverage. Do you have any whole life coverage, Joe?
I think so.
Okay. Do you know how much it's worth?
Maybe like $500,000.
$500,000? Okay. And do you know how much you pay for that?
Like $40 a month.
$40 a month? Okay, perfect. If you guys have your coverage for this analysis, can you go grab your actual policies to take a look at that? Because if you have $500,000 of coverage, that's great. But to put it into the needs analysis to make sure that it's accurate, we definitely want to take a look at that. Part of my job as a professional is to advise you and give you guys advice, and I'll be able to break that down for you guys a little bit more. So go grab your policy real quick so you can make sure you plug that information in properly for you here, right? So obviously, if he has $500,000, $40 a month, we all know it's term policy, right? But I'm not going to just say, what? You got a term policy. I'm not going to slap. I'm going to make him go get the policy. And I'm going to say, so before you can say, no, I just wanted you to know the reason I wanted you to get the policy you have it now is just because that $40 a month for that much premium doesn't sound just, right for a whole life policy. So I just want to make sure that, we have the information correct. And he's going to open up, it's going to say term on it or something. And I'm going to, obviously look like a professional, right? Without making him feel like a jackass. A rookie would be able to just be like, $40 a month, that's a term policy. That's not whole life. Now you're arguing with people. You know what I'm saying? Right? So agree and proceed, right? Mm-hmm. So anyways, so he'll go get that. We'll fill that information in, whatever it may be. Fill his information into the needs analysis, get the wife's information, fill that into the needs analysis. After I fill out the needs analysis, I'm gonna say, so Joe and Mary, what they have is they have a mandatory read-off letter they have us go over with you. Please follow along as I pull it up on the screen. And it pops right up on the screen, right? I'll say, it's going to say, following benefits being made available through, Corporation American Income Life and your company, American Income Life, has a long-standing history of servicing your organizations and their members. We have $30 life insurance in force. Please take a second to listen to the member or to the representative meeting with you today. They can fit needs in your area. Please take advantage. Blah, 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 blah. Right? It's up on the screen. They read it. You read it together with them. You pull it down from the screen. Now they're looking at you again. You say, basically, Joe and Mary, what that letter was saying is as I go through the benefits with you guys, and you're nodding your head, you're thinking they're great benefits, if it's a need for your family, they're going to ask you to try to qualify today while we're out here. But on the flip side is, if I go through the benefits, you're nodding your head, you think, wow, they're great benefits, but they don't fit a need for probably knock off. But either way, they want to get your, either way that they want to make a decision today, yes or no, just in fairness to all the other members waiting to as well. Best thing is it's a no-brainer, so you're gonna know one way or not whether it's a need for you and your family. So they still want me to get to the end of everything, and you guys say something silly like you want to think about it or something. So and by the time I'm done with everything, I'm just gonna ask you one quick thing to fill out an officer report form. To give feedback to your union president, just to let me know how I did, let them know how we're doing out here as well. Make sure we get them good feedback on our customer service as well. So, Joe, the way they set the benefits up is they figured that, if we walked into work on Monday and the boss pulled everybody aside and said, hey guys, great news, we're going to give everybody like an extra hour or two in our pay this week. That might feel pretty good for us, right? But we're probably not going to, run home and take the family on a dream vacation and go buy a new car because I got an extra hour or two in my pay for the week, right? On the flip side, let's say I go to work and the boss pulled us all aside, say, hey guys, we're going to have to slow things down. Everybody's going to take home 1 or 2 hours, maybe less for the week. Okay, might make a little difference, but I'm probably not going to be, running home and canceling the cable and taking the kids off the basketball team. I'm probably not going to sell the car and cancel vacation, right? So what they felt is whether I got an extra hour or lost an hour, either way, it doesn't make that big of a difference. So let's put it towards something that would, right? And they figured they could put it towards helping you protect your family in some of these areas. So let's see. The first thing that the needs analysis said is, and I press the next button on the thing, and the needs analysis will pop up, and it'll say, let's examine your need for final expense protection, right? Isn't that what it says on the screen? So I'm going to read the screen to the client. I'm going to say, so Joe, Mary, you see where it says on the screen? It says, let's examine your need for final expense protection. And I press play. And then a video plays and explains to them funeral and final expenses. Anybody ever see that video? And it has the freedom of choice certificate in it. If you play that video, it'll pretty much explain funeral and final expense costs to the client. It'll go over a freedom of choice certificate with them. What I like about it is that I think in there's a picture of a woman grieving, holding a picture in her hand, like crying. Like, I'm a pretty good actor, but there's no way that I can transform myself into an old lady with white hair holding a picture in my hand to give them that visual, right? And this is an emotional sell, right? I'm good, but I'm not that good. That's showing. It shows a graveyard. I can't show them a graveyard. I can't. I can't. I could maybe sit here and try and draw one on the screen real quick or something. But you see, I'm like, it's someone else saying it, not me. So I kind of like the video in that sense. If you want to go using the video, you can use the video to go over the funeral and final expenses. Play the video. It'll hit them from maybe some different emotional angles as well. Okay. After the video is done playing, it's going to come up on the screen and it's going to show them what they need. And it's going to go like this. It's going to go like this. The expert simulator is going to go what it recommends right here. We'll put R, what it recommends. Then it's going to say what they currently have. And then it's going to show them what they need. And then it's going to give them their recommendation. So it's going to go like this. So Dan, the expert simulator has identified that you need $30,000 for your funeral and final arrangement. That's what it shows. So that's what it recommends you have. Now, currently, right now, you have $0 in place for that. So it's showing that you need $30,000, and it's going to recommend for you and your family over here. It recommends that you cover that $30,000. Now, what they're going to do for you, Joe, is they're going to have that $30,000 set aside on. Let's see if we have it over here. Never leave home without it. So Joe, Dan, right? What they're going to do is they're going to have that $30,000 set aside on this freedom of choice certificate for you and your family. what this is going to do, this is going to guarantee to take care of all of your funeral and final arrangements so that your family doesn't have to. Basically, Mary, I'd imagine whenever Joe passes away, you're going to be the one to take care of all the funeral and final arrangements, correct? So what you're going to do, Mary, is you simply just take this down to the funeral home, hand it over to the funeral director, and everything's taken care of right there on the spot. Now, Joe, this is a permanent benefit. Once you qualify for this, it'll be in place forever. Nobody can take it away from you. It could be today, tomorrow, when you're 99 years old, doesn't matter. It'll always be in place, okay? And Mary, this gives you the freedom and choice to use it wherever you'd like. You're going to have a benefit on here now. It's going to be worth $30,000. But keep in mind, they always leave it blank, okay? What they do not recommend is for us to run into the funeral home and say, hey, I have $30,000. What can I get? You know, you don't want to have that written on there real big, or else the funeral director is going to know that you have 30 on there, and guess what? You're probably going to end up getting charged for this funeral. Probably $30,000. So they say go in, negotiate your best price. You know, use the certificate. And maybe you can get a $20,000 funeral. Then that's going to leave how much left on here? 10. That $10,000 gets paid back to the family tax-free to wrap up all those other costs that typically get left behind. That makes sense, Joe? That makes sense, Mary? Okay, great. So that's going to be set aside for you. So you never have to worry about your funeral being burned into your family. Now, the next thing they took a look at was for Mary. Now, for Mary, it recommended for her to have $30,000 for her funeral and final arrangements. Now, she has $10,000 in place already of current coverage. So they're going to show a need right now of $20,000, and it's going to recommend to cover that need of $20,000 for Mary. This comes right up on the screen. And for Mary, what they're going to do for you, Mary, is they're going to have a freedom of choice to give it set up to take care of all of your funeral and final arrangements so your family doesn't have to. Right? Joe, I'd imagine if something happened to Mary, you'd be the one to take care of this, right? And if you weren't around, Joe, who would handle the funeral for Mary?
Her brother.
Her brother. Okay, so you're going to have to let her brother know how this all works, right? Or sometimes they might say their kids. You know, and that's where you can get them. Like if I ask Joe, because Joe's going to pass away first, Mary's going to pass away second, typically. And that's what he thinks. That's what everybody thinks. So he thinks, well, I'm not even going to be here when she dies. Right? So that's why you got to ask that question. So Joe, if you're not around, let's say you passed away first, right? Who do you think would handle the funeral for Mary? And a lot of times it'll be their kids. So he's thinking like this, oh, it'll probably be my daughter. And he goes like this. Oh, crap. It's going to be my daughter. That's not good. We've got to do something about that. Oh, good. Freedom of choice certificate, like Tom's talking about. There we go. Perfect. Now my daughter has the freedom of choice certificate. She don't have to worry about burying her mom by herself. See? So you can connect all that with asking a couple of short questions right there. So you want to show the wife as well and get them set up with their freedom of choice certificates, right? After that, you're going to say, so now, Joe, the next thing they took a look at was income, right? You could play the video on income real quick, or you could just explain to them what it recommends. So you play the video, go break down income protection for them. After that, after the video is done playing, I'll just say, so Joe, let's take a look at what the expert simulator has recommended. First of all, it's recommending to have 5 years of your income protected. You make $50,000. So it's recommended to have 5 years of your income protected. What that means is if you pass away, it's recommending that your family has 5 years of your income still coming in. Since you have a wife and since you have 2 small children in the home, they're going to need that income and that time to get by. Now, Joe, 5 years of your income is $250,000. Notice for 1 second, guys, notice how I didn't say 250 until I said 5 years at least 5 times. So when I do income protection, I always say 5 years at least 5 times before I even say, now, Joe, 5 years of your income is $250,000 because you make $50,000 a year. Currently, right now, you have $50,000 of coverage through work. So it's showing that you still need to cover the other 4 years of your income. Right now, if you passed away, only 1 year of your income would come into the family and maybe cut off. So what this is recommending is to get the other 4 years, which would be another $200,000, showing the need. It's going to recommend to cover that as well. Does that make sense for you, Mary, why you want to have that income protection coming into the household? God forbid Joe were to pass away. Joe, does it make sense why they recommended to have that in place? And at the end, you always do the tie downs with them. What I like about it is it's all professional. It's almost like a financial advisor kind of. You know, it's very professional. You can make it like that too. You know, give me 2 seconds. I gotta pull something up on my computer, and let's pause for questions. That's a good thing. Let's do questions right now. Shoot them out. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So you were talking earlier about whole life and when they turn age 65 that they can pull out the cash value. Now, is that a loan that they have to pay back?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
That's a good question. Yes. Make sure you guys understand that stuff as well.
Hey, Tommy, if they don't pay it back, though, don't they just take it out of the cash value?
Well, it'll be part of their when they make their monthly premiums. Yeah, they'll take it out of the cash value until the cash value's gone.
All right.
And then if they die, their family doesn't get the difference. So you have to make sure you explain that to them. Like, hey, like so if you have a $100,000 policy, if you take out $30,000 of cash, and then you pass away, your family gets. I always say your family gets the $100,000 minus any cash you've taken out. So they would get the 100 minus the 30 and get 70. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got that.
Okay.
Thanks.
So before age 65, are they allowed to access that cash value?
465. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Cash value it starts building after 3 years.
So after 3 years, they can borrow against it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, good question. Good question. Well, after 3 years is when the cash starts building. They can borrow, but there won't be much to borrow. That makes sense. Very shortly. Okay, we'll get right back into it in 2 seconds, guys. Okay. Should be good to go. All right. So then the next thing I'll say is, let's just say we gave them income protection, and then it's going to recommend mortgage protection. So it's going to say, so Joe, the next thing it took a look at was for your mortgage. The expert simulator has identified that your mortgage is currently worth $140,000. And if you were to pass away today, it's showing that right now there's nothing in place for that. You guys do not have any coverage. So I put that in cover. It shows 100. It'll put 140. And then currently, right now, there's $0 in place for that. So if Joe would pass away, the $140,000 would go right on to Mary. Okay. So what they found is that there's still going to be a need of $140,000 for a mortgage, and they recommend to cover that $140,000 for the mortgage. So Joe and Mary, let me just make sure I go over everything. Let's recap everything real quick just to make sure we're on the same page. So the first thing it took a look at was for funeral and final arrangements. For Joe and Mary, it recommends $30,000 so that your funeral and final arrangements are never burned into your family ever again. And for Joe, there's no coverage in place for that. So it shows a need for you of $30,000, and that's why they recommended to cover that need of $30,000. And basically, your family is going to have that on this freedom of choice certificate. Now, For Mary, they recommend for 30,000 for her, but she already has 10,000 in place from her mom when she was younger. So for her freedom of choice is going to have 20,000 on there, and you guys will never have to worry about your funeral ever being burdened to your family. So that's the first thing they took a look at right there. That makes sense to you guys, right? Okay, the next thing is they took a look at it for your income. Right now, Joe, 5 years of your income will be $250,000. You already have $50,000 of coverage in place for that. So they're still showing a big gap though of $200,000 that'll make sure your income comes into the family if God forbid you were to pass away for the following 5 years. So they're going to recommend to cover that for the family as well for $200,000 for the next 4 years. So that makes sense to you, Mary? Want to make sure the income's protected again? And then the last thing was the mortgage, your beautiful home where you guys are raising your family right now. They say that if God forbid if Joe would pass away, they found that the mortgage balance would get put on right to Mary. And this situation, when I talk about with mortgages, Joe and Mary, is I always talk about like assets and liabilities, legacies and liabilities. Most families would say that their house is their biggest asset. But if you have a mortgage on it, it's not an asset at all. It's typically what? A liability, right? So for most families, their home is not their biggest asset. It's actually the biggest liability that they carry. And then if I ask a family, when you pass away, do you want to leave your family with a legacy or with a liability? And what do you think everyone always tells me? Everyone always tells me legacy. You know, but unfortunately, most of the families that I meet with and most of the people out there, most of Americans, if they passed away today, they would not be leaving behind a legacy. Most people would be leaving behind a liability. And what they said is, what could be a better legacy to leave behind than to leave behind a home for your family to have forever? But what can be probably a bigger liability was to leave behind a mortgage and leave behind the stress of not knowing if we're going to have a place to stay in a few months. So what they did, Joe, is they made sure that for your family that you have what's called mortgage protection, and no matter what, if you're here, you're going to make sure that house gets paid off. But God forbid if something happens, because we know that not everyone that went to bed last night was guaranteed to wake up this morning. And we know that not everybody that went to work today was guaranteed to come home. So God forbid if something were to happen along the way and we're no longer here, this is going to guarantee that we still leave our family with that legacy. Does that make sense, Joe, Mary? Now, I have an important question for you guys. Before we move forward, I always want to get an opinion from our members. So if I could ask you, out of all these benefits here, Joe, Mary, which one of these is most important to you? Let's start with you, Joe. Which one would you say is most important to you? If you could only choose one, what would you say was most important to you? The funeral. Okay. Well, why would you choose the funeral over all the other benefits? Because it takes care of your funeral. That makes sense. Okay. Well, why is making sure your funeral is taken care of? Why is that important to you? Because you don't want to burden your wife with it, your kids with it. You saw what happened to your mom when your dad passed away. That makes sense. Okay, I understand. Mary, out of all of these benefits, which one of these is most important to you? If you could just choose one. The income. Okay. And why would you say the income? Because you handle all the bills. Okay. Well, why would that be most important to you, making sure that you have the income taken care of? Okay. Makes sense. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, good. All right, perfect. Well, Joe and Mary, as much as everybody wants to enroll into the benefits, as much as everybody wants to qualify for the benefits, Joe and Mary, for us, for you guys, what I typically say here on the cross, I typically say, I'll say something like this. I'll say something like, I said, Joe, there's two guarantees. They say there's really only two guarantees in life, right? There's what? There's death and there's taxes, And I've seen some people get around, taxes, but I've never seen anybody getting around dying, The cost for your program to protect your family right here would just be $220 a month, which is about $30 or $40 a week, whatever it is, $50 a week, to protect your family. If I had to ask you, what's the most important thing in the world to you? Would you say your family? And most people say their family. But then I ask them this, what is your family worth to you? Most people say priceless. Say, right. Fortunately, your family's priceless, that's right. Fortunately, there is a price to protect our family. It's $140 a month or $240 a month to protect our family. But main thing is making sure that you can qualify. So Joe, while you think about, or I don't even say, I'll say, so Joe, the main thing is we have to make sure that you can even qualify first for the program. And then I take it away from them and I fill out the application. So at the end, you say something like, now Joe, everyone always wants to try and qualify for the benefits, but unfortunately, not everyone can. So I need to make sure you can qualify first. And then I take it away from them. So you say, what's the most important thing in the world to you? They'll say, oh, my family. I'll say, okay, if you said to put a price on your family, what would you say your family's worth to you? Priceless, right? And it's right. You can't put a price on your family, but fortunately, they were able to put a price on protecting our family, which for you is just $227 a month, which is less than a cable, less than a cell phone bill. I don't really, and then I'll say, but Joe and Mary, everybody always wants to try and qualify for the benefits, but unfortunately, not everyone can qualify. I need to make sure you can qualify first. And then I pull up the application and I start filling out the application, taking it away from them. I assume the cell and take it away at the end. I'm moving a little bit slow going through this today. Just took about a half hour to break all this down to get to the application. But I started at like 10:30 something, 10:35 or whatever time it was. And to get all the way to here was like 11:05. Took about a half hour to get here. But imagine how many times I stopped, explained things in a sales environment. I'm just teaching at the same time here. This was in the home and I'm engaged. We can fly through this faster. I could have probably done that in 15 to 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Especially if I was a well-oiled machine and I was doing this all the time. You can get through it a lot faster with them and get to this part a lot quicker and get to the qualifying questions a lot faster as well. What was I going to say? There's something I was going to mention about the application.
What if they say they smoke after when you answer the questions? That price is going to change on them, right? Because it's a tobacco user.
Yeah, but that's if you do that, that's you find that out when you thought like the needs analysis and stuff about you. It shouldn't be happening to you.
Mm-hmm.
Does it happen to you a lot?
I
feel like I got that question like 3 times over the past few days. What happens if they tell you they smoke? I mean, well, you should already know if they smoke. But by the time you got these rates up here, by the time you got it out, company's very smart. So if you do the presentation the right way, that shouldn't happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Unless they lied to you and then they decide to tell you the truth later, which sometimes happens. Like I had a guy, he's like, okay, Tom, I'll walk you out. I'm like, why does this guy keep saying I'll walk you out? Like 6 times he said to me, I'll walk you out, I'll walk you out, I'll walk you out. I'm like, why does he keep telling me he's gonna walk me out? And then finally we get out there and we walk out to the porch. He's like, hey, sometimes when I'm on the job, I chew with the guys. I don't want to say nothing in front of the wife in there. Is that gonna change anything? I'm like, yeah, it's gonna change something. But he didn't want his wife to know, right?
Yeah.
So you might maybe, but that happened like 2 times in my whole entire career.
Right.
So I can't see that happening too much. What
If
else?
that were to happen, couldn't you just uncheck the NTU on the application?
Yeah, you just check it, change the rates a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, right was just saying what to change the rates. So just change the rates.
Yeah.
So one time I gave a guy tobacco. He told me he was a tobacco user, and I gave him non-tobacco rates like an idiot. I just wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. Right? I pitched him on it, and he didn't want to buy at all. He did not want to buy. But after he told me no like 7 times, I finally got him to say yes. And he went to me like this. I was with a trainee. He went to me. He goes, you want to know what? You guys are pretty nice. I'm gonna buy a house off you. I'm gonna give you guys the sale every day. Like he said something like that to me, And I was like, oh, sweet, And then I'm filling out the application. And as I'm filling out the application, I realized he did not want to spend $70 a month. Like he was not spending $70 a month. And I got him to. And as I'm filling the application, I realized I clicked the wrong button. They were like $87 a month or 90 basically, And I had to go back to him. I was like, hey man, I gotta tell you, I clicked the wrong button. And I accidentally put this back. It's actually gonna be like $17 more. And he was like, what? I knew it. I knew you guys, right? And I had to like calm them all down again. He still got the coverage and everything, you know what I mean? So I did the opposite. I messed up before, but either way. But yeah, so at the end, any questions about this process, about the close? I could go over it again. I could recap it, right? So basically, you're going to play the video, explain to them what it recommends. Play the video, explain what it recommends. Play the video, explain what it recommends. Then you just go back to the top and you recap it all with them. So let me just recap everything with you real quick, Joe. Boom, 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 boom. Now, out of all these benefits, which one's most important to you? Okay, great. Why? Okay, great. Why is that important to you? Mary, out of all these benefits, which one's most important to you? Okay, great. Why? Okay, great. Why is that important to you? And I need them to tell me on what they need, why they need it, and why it's important to them. Joe, Mary, separately, they're 2 different people. If Joe tells me what he needs, why he needs it, and why it's important to him, my job is done. You're done. The game is over. You won. It's a sale. You don't even got to sell him. He just sold you on what he needs. He's right. So if I can get them to sell me, that's what I get in my brain. It's like they now instead of me selling them, they're gonna sell me. So what's most important to you? And I love this. My favorite part of the whole presentation because they literally tell me what they want, why they need it, right? Why it's important to them. So that's one of the best parts of the presentation is at the end when you ask them that. And then when you say as much as you want it, as much as you need it, as much as your family needs it, I don't even know if you can get it. I got to make sure you can qualify first. And you go and ask them qualifying questions and take it away. What's nice is you don't even got to talk about the price because the price is going to be down here on the screen. It's right there on the screen. You don't even got to say nothing to them. They're not dumb. They can see it. Like when you go shopping and you see something there, there's a toy, and in the bottom right hand corner of the toy it says $39.99 for the Buzz Lightyear. When you bring it up to the register, the person at the register isn't like, Buzz Lightyear is $39.99. Are you gonna get this one? Okay, next thing, it's gonna cost you $13.42. You gonna buy this one? You saw what it cost when you put it in your cart. People are used to looking down in the bottom right hand corner and seeing the price. So when I pull up the price on the screen, I don't have to harp on it. I don't have to talk about it. It's right there. I can just let them know real quick. So this is what it's going to cost you guys. Make sure you guys are comfortable with that. But I got to make sure you guys can even qualify. So you don't have to harp on the price either. And then that's it. That's the close. It's pretty straightforward, right? And then if you get used to it and you get good at it, you can be really good at doing a needs analysis close. This is a needs analysis close, is what it is. Okay? You don't always do needs analysis close. You can do a 2-job close. I'll do a 2-job close for you next time. Right? And then there's an ABC close. ABC, basically, you just put 3 options up on there, ABC them. And you could use the needs analysis to come up with those recommendations. Right? Like what Gio would do is he would type in this information and he would say, okay, and he would not show them the screen though. He'd write down all 3 of them. He's like, option A will give him 30,000. He'll do 100,000, 50,000, 30,000 for that. And we'll scale them all down. So that's a whole nother day for a whole nother conversation, right? I could go to a senior, which we should just be calling Will Kit Leads, their seniors, setting them for the morning time, and in the morning, giving 2 or 3 will kits out. Just give the will kits out. Make your job to just be will kits. I just got to give these will kits out. I got to give the will kits out. I got to give the will kits out. I got to give these out. I got to give these will kits out. Every morning, give 2 or 3 will kits out. And when you give those out, you also pick up life insurance along the way. Give out the will kit, pick up some life insurance. Give out the will kit, pick up another client. Give a will kit, pick a client. Give them out the will kits, hang out with a senior in the morning, have a cup of coffee, have some tea with them, get some referrals, hang out with them in the morning. What are we doing in the morning anyways? It's like, hey, it's like you get to hang out with your grandma or something. You get to hang out, you know, and treat them like your grandma. Treat them like that. What would you, hey, would you want someone goofing off on your grandma? You want them to take it serious. If your grandma filled a card out for a free will kit, would you want someone to deliver it to her? If somebody filled out a free will kit, you think they're filling these things out because they don't want them? They're thinking about, one day I'm going to die and I need to have my affairs in place. That's pretty important stuff, you know? So I would take it pretty serious if I was calling a will kit. And in the mornings, just like I said, just set up 2 or 3 will kit appointments, give them the will kit, and then when you give them the will kit, after that, it's easy. All you do is you say, hey, one of the biggest concerns we're finding right now is funeral and final arrangements. We work with all these groups and unions. The biggest problem and concern is everybody has group coverage. But the problem is all their members, when they retire, they lose all their group coverage. So the big thing is funeral and final arrangements. So what they do, they contract the rest of police, firefighters, teachers, the steel workers, the bus drivers, the roadway workers, the roofers, the people who are in the sewers, you know, all those people that they contract through us, the painters who painted this building. They all contract through us to provide them with guaranteed permanent benefits because one concern they run into is funeral and final arrangements. Members are passing away, leaving behind funeral and final arrangements for their families. So for you and Joe and Mary, here's what they would look at. They would look at, first of all, life expectancy. Right now, Joe, you're 67, you're 62, you're 54. How old are you? Okay, he's 64. You're 64 years old. So from 64, you're going to live to be, this thing says right here, 86. So you have 24 more years based upon this. 24 more years from now, the average funeral today costs this, but 24 years from now, it's going to cost this. So what we're going to do, so 24 years from now, it's going to cost, let's say, $30,000. So what they would do, Joe, is they'd recommend, or what they would do is they would set you up with a freedom of choice certificate to take care of that. So whenever you pass away, whenever our members pass away, their wife, their family, their kids, they just take this down to the funeral home, hand this over to the funeral director, everything's taken care of right there on the spot. So this is the way to work for you, Joe. It's going to be a permanent benefit. It's going to take care of your funeral final arrangements for the rest of your life. Now I'll just go over this for Joe, and I say, so what they would do, they set this up for you, and then by the end of it, it will be set up for them, right? And here's your funeral and final arrangement. Here's your freedom of choice certificate, Joe. Now the main thing though is making sure you can qualify, because what happens with people as they get older, their health typically goes down. So they want to make sure that people are able to lock in on this while they're still healthy. So I need to make sure you can even qualify for this program right now, Joe, okay? And not go in and just, hey, have you ever been a doctor? You've ever been treated for this? You've ever been treated for that? You have medication for this? Hey, looks like you might, you know what, Joe? Looks like you would be able to qualify for this. I can't guarantee that though. There are 3 things that can happen with our application. However, though, seems like you're young enough, you're healthy enough to qualify for this. So, you know, so far, congratulations, you made it to the next step of the process, right? And I would just assume the sale. And they say, I'm not buying this off you. All right, well then I understand that. That makes sense. You don't have to buy anything at all. You know, we're not even selling nothing. I'm just showing you what they set up for you here. And I'll just go over this and this and this and this until he either buys or doesn't, you know, so he doesn't. And if he don't, then I'm going to go give somebody else their free will kit next. That's it, you know. So will kits can be awesome because you can get these extra sit downs in the morning where you normally want to get a lot of sit downs in because they're senior. Afternoon, people are all at work. Sit down when they're a senior. They're retired. And if they are working, they're only working half a day. They're a school bus driver or something, you know. You can get in front of them. So there's some things we can get going, get some activity this month. All right. All right. Let's break for today. Wait, anybody got any questions?
Yeah, Tommy, I have one question, buddy. So as far as the 2-job versus needs analysis versus ABC close, in my mind, I associate the 2-job as most effective with a union worker. So as far as the other closes, is there a demographic or personality type that when you see it, you say, oh, I'm going to use a needs analysis close, or oh, I'm going to use an ABC close?
Yeah. I could use the needs analysis on anybody.
Yeah.
On anybody. That's what I like about it. It's almost universal. However, I would not use it maybe as much on a senior. But I could use it to help pitch the freedom of choice certificate to a senior. Maybe play that video and everything. When I sit down with like people who, if it's like a straight life insurance conversation with someone, straight life insurance, that's something you could use a needs analysis for more. Like if you're just talking straight life insurance with somebody, just say, okay, great, let's take what you have, plug it in needs analysis, see if there's any gaps. You know, POS, if you sit down with somebody and they're a policy owner, POS means policy owner service. So if you sit down with one of our clients and they're already a policy holder of us, the needs analysis works really well with that. ABC works pretty much good with anybody, but ABC is good for the freedom of choice certificate. If you want to ABC somebody on a freedom of choice certificate, and typically when I break that down, let's say that Blake needed $30,000 for his freedom of choice certificate. You always want to tell them what they would get, but what it would do for them. So I would say, so option A, okay, would put $100,000 on your freedom of choice certificate. Option B will put $50,000 on your freedom of choice certificate. Option C will put $30,000 on your freedom of choice certificate. So I go like I said. So Blake, option A, what this is going to do, this is going to put $100,000 on your freedom of choice certificate. And what that's going to do for you and your family is that's going to lock in and take care of all of your funeral and final arrangements, but it's also going to leave behind probably $70,000 to go to your family to leave them as a legacy, okay? Now, option B, what that's going to do for you, that's going to lock in and guarantee all of your funeral and final arrangements for the rest of your life. But what it's also going to leave behind looks like probably another $20,000 will get left behind as a legacy that can go to your family. And option C, that's going to put $30,000 in place on your freedom of choice certificate. And what that's going to do for you, that's the key line. What that's going to do for you is that's going to lock in and guarantee to take care of all of your funeral final arrangements now until forever. So you never have to worry about that being a burden to your family ever again. See those heavy words I'm dropping in there? It's going to guarantee to lock this benefit in place for your funeral and final arrangements now until forever, so that it's never a burden on your family ever again. You got to use some words like that to help them understand it. And now I kind of explain to them more, what they get, but also what it does for them. That's kind of how I would do the freedom of choice certificate. I always try and make the lowest one like barely covering their funeral costs, and then this one will give them funeral costs plus some money. And this will give them funeral costs plus even more money. So the least they'll do is this, right? A lot of people don't think like that. A lot of people think, oh, well, they only need $50,000. I'm just going to show them a $50,000 freedom of choice. If they need $50,000, show them $100,000. A $50,000 freedom of choice plus $50,000 to go to their family after as well, right? Here's one of the great lines you could say is one of the problems and concerns they found is that when our members pass away, funeral directors are getting richer and richer and richer, and our families are getting poorer and poorer and poorer. So that's why they put these freedom of choice certificates in place so that our families are never getting burdened with those funeral and final arrangements ever again, right? So, all right. Any other questions? That was a good one. Theo.
So, I was going to say maybe for the POSs, maybe tell them why it's so important for that needs analysis, because they're over not even know that they need more.
Yes.
And like you're kind of leading them into that, you know? So I was just gonna.
Yeah, a lot of our policyholders, when they got their coverage, they got their foot in the door. Right? You know, they just got their foot in the door. And then another thing is their needs changed drastically. And a lot of our policyholders, they're not getting steam every year, 2 years. I mean, we have some policyholders right now that we got to call on. And I looked in the thing, they weren't seen for 5 years. Somebody hasn't seen it with our company for 5 years. I guarantee if I sat down with that person, they would have a whole bunch of other needs that they would need to have addressed and changed. And as a professional, I could probably figure it out, but if you're new, it's hard for you to figure out the needs. So like I would just put it into the needs analysis and tells them you don't have to figure nothing out. It takes all the pressure off of you. You know, if I sat down with somebody and had all this life insurance, I would be intimidated. Like, how do I know what to even recommend this person? I say, well, all I'll do, I'll just put in this needs analysis and it'll tell me, and then whatever it says on here, I'm gonna tell them, and that's it. You can keep it simple. And if it don't work, then blame it on the computer, right? But if you do it yourself and you're making all this stuff up and it don't work, then you're gonna blame it on yourself because you know what I mean. So try and put as much pressure on the system, like we say. But if you ever get a POS, you're in luck. POS are the best leads you could possibly get. If you sit down with somebody and they're a policy holder, somebody said to me, oh no, I had a policy holder. They already had coverage with the company. It sucked. I was like, no, you're thinking about it the wrong way. Policyholders are the best leads. If you wanted to think about it, if I had all the leads here, let's had 1,000 leads, right? And you're like this, you're like, man, I wish I could just wave a magic wand and know the ones that we're going to buy, right? Well, guess what? Those are the policyholders. Those are the ones that buy. They already bought. A policyholder is someone that has a policy with our company. Let's think about that. They are paying money to our company every single month. You think they trust us? When you call somebody who's not a policyholder and they're part of the union or something, or part of the child safe or will kits, you know that they're sitting there looking at you like this. What's this person trying to do, right? You know they're doing that. Everybody does it. They're skeptical. People are skeptical. Well, when you call a policyholder, they're not doing that. You know what I mean? They're actually like, they have a pen and paper out and they want to hear what you got to say. They're glad they called on you. They have bank accounts. Guess what policyholders have? Active bank accounts that work. How about that, right? They show up for the appointment. You have an appointment with your life insurance company, and you're gonna blow them off?
No.
You know what I mean? Just think about that, right? No show ratio, you don't get no show, all that. So if you ever get someone in your lead and they tell you that they already have a policy with you, with this company, that is money. That is money. Call your manager and we'll tell you how to handle it for sure. Cool. So good deal. Any other questions? Good? Let's break. Let's get out of here, guys. Great job today. Appreciate your time. High fives all the way around. Let's get it.
Run!
High five. Boom.
You want to close the door?
Nah. Balake.
I'm excited for that white shirt, Tommy.
You want a small, right?
Yeah.
All right. I got you. All right, brother. I'll see you.
I got a medium last time. I haven't beefed up enough for it yet. I'll get there.
Me too. All right, Filippo. Yeah, me too, bro. Me too. I got to get a small.